meeting of the Trophy Club Planning and Zoning Commission is called to order, and it is September 28th, 2015, and the time is 6 and 18 minutes, 6:18 p.m. We are being videotaped, so if I start waving my arms and splashing and stuttering, let me know. We do have a quorum, and present is Commissioner Ross, Oldham, Val, Sinelli, Sheridan. Absent at this time is Commissioner Card. On the agenda, we have citizens' presentations, and citizens are allowed to talk 3 minutes to address the commission or board, according to this, regarding an item over which the board has a policy or oversight authority as provided by Texas law, the ethics order, or other policy order. Robbie, do we have anybody wishing to speak?
No, we do not.
Okay, and I'd like to direct staff that this is unnecessary. All public people are invited to all our sessions and are invited to speak on any agenda item. I will go to the regular session, and the regular session we have agenda item, consider and take appropriate action regarding a final plat of Trophy Club Municipal Utility District Wastewater Treatment Facility, Trophy Club, Texas, including consideration and action on related waivers to the town subdivision regulations as requested by the applicant. The way I would like to operate tonight is I'd like the applicant to have the ability, if they wish, to make a presentation without questions. Then I'd like the staff report, then I'll ask for any public speakers, and then we'll refer to the commissioners, and the commissioners have the ability to ask, talk to the public and or the applicant. Applicant, would you like to speak? Please identify yourself. Remember, we are videoed and audioed.
Yes. Good evening, Commission. My name is Adam Marsh. I work for CP&Y Inc., and we are one of the engineers for the MUD. I appreciate your time tonight to consider our final plat application for the Trophy Club Municipal Utility District number 1. With me, just so you guys are aware, we have Jennifer McKnight, who is the general manager of the MUD, and Kevin Glover, who is senior project manager for the wastewater treatment plant expansion project with the Wallace Group, which is a CP&Y company. So we're all on the same team. I'm going to run through some brief history and then get into our application. You guys have seen this, but the plant was built in the early 1970s. It's undergone 2 major rehabilitations, first in the 90s and the second was in 2002. The plant is at maximum treatment capacity, and so we are looking to increase capacity so that we can continue to meet our TCEQ discharge permit limits. We have chosen technology that would allow us to stay within the existing footprint of the plant, which, if you were here earlier, means we don't have to go back to TCEQ for additional permitting, and it allows us to not to just disturb some existing vegetation on the northern end of the MUD property. The funding for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades has been approved and was through revenue and tax bonds. You'll see here, this is our final plat, and this does meet what has been approved by council, and wanted to point out here that you can see kind of on the bottom side, there's a hatched area. That's the 25-foot right-of-way dedication that curves off the property at an approved radius by the town's engineer to miss an existing maintenance building that is there at the southwest corner of the property. You will not see on here a 25-foot building setback line, which was approved by the zoning board, the ZBA, the Trophy Club ZBA previously, actually 30 minutes ago. So we believe that this final plat meets all the requirements that have been set before us, so we are requesting your approval. Just a history on the plat. P&Z approved the preliminary plat on August 8th, 2015 with a modified right-of-way. This went in front of council, and there was a change recommendation by council, which was further updated, you'll see on the 4th bullet point, by council action on September 22nd, 2015, to allow the right-of-way to curve off property before the maintenance barn, as we have shown in our final plat. That road curvature was approved by the town engineer as required by council, and since DBA did give us our variance request to the front setback, we have no structures which are impacted. Again, the district is respectfully requesting P&Z to approve our final plat as presented tonight, which we believe meets the requirements of the town as we have been directed. The expansion of the wastewater treatment plant is necessary for the protection of public health, safety, and welfare of the community. That's what we've got. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Adam. If you would, make yourself available. Ron, just based on his comments, may I say that the setback as wavered by the ZBA is not a plating issue. It is a site plan issue. Therefore, we won't address it tonight. But the word is wavered. Okay. Thank you. Ron, staff report, please.
Just to kind of clarify on your last point, with the granting of the setback variance by the Zoning Board of Adjustment, the requirement to show it on the plat was eliminated with that swift motion. So the plat does meet that requirement. As far as the plat itself, obviously, as the commission knows, and we explained to the board before this meeting, this plat is going to be quickly considered by the town council after this meeting is adjourned. This is the second part of a two-part process of approval of a preliminary and a final plat. The preliminary plat was approved back on August the 11th. It was approved with conditions that were different from what the Planning and Zoning Commission approved that plat. This plat does not technically conform to the plat that was approved on the 11th of August by the council. Therefore, you have the language in the agenda about the waiver. That would really be the only waiver applying in this case. But the council is going to consider this plat at 7 o'clock, and the configuration you see with the right-of-way does line up with language that the council gave at the last meeting concerning discussion of the appeal that was sent from the MUD to the council. So with that, the plat does meet all the other requirements of the Code of Ordinances. They did comply with all of the staff comments on the final plat, and staff is recommending approval of this plat, and I'll be glad to answer any questions from the commission.
Thank you. A couple questions for reference to staff report. In any motion that this commission is going to take, does the word waiver or an itemized waiver, does that have to be mentioned, or are we just approving the plat as we have it?
You are essentially approving the plat as it sits before you right now.
Right. So the mention of waiver just happens to let us know how it got to us.
That's correct.
Okay.
And one reason we also have that language in the agenda is we just weren't sure. It kind of pended what the action the board might take as well.
All right. Well, I was just trying to bring up, we're not specifically identifying any specific waiver. We're going to be approving or disapproving this plat as we know it, or putting conditions on this as we know it.
That's correct.
The other thing in the staff report on page 4 of 11, under current conditions, you have the 3.991 acres as zone CR, commercial recreation district. The MUD purchased lots in some land from the residential developer. Was that purchased before or after PD 31 was created? And if it was after PD 31 was created, was this land rezoned back to CR? And I know you may not have that answer tonight, but that will come up again. And the only reason I bring it up is in the staff report.
I don't have that information readily available, but it's something I can research and do my best to give you an answer on that.
Okay. The other question for the staff report is, could you explain the relevance of Exhibit B and Exhibit C? Exhibit B being the roadway curvature as built exhibit, and Exhibit C is, that's C, and Exhibit B is the MUD's request for a hearing. Could you explain the relevance to us for tonight of those two items?
The roadway curvature exhibit was just to show the commission the actual curvature of the road and how it relates to the building, the existing building that's on the westernmost portion of the property, as it relates to the setback and also the right-of-way swerving to miss that building to the south. As far as the waiver, the letter itself goes, with the waiver, it just shows the current waivers. And this is really more for the council meeting at 7 o'clock, because we're addressed to the council, and that's one of the reasons that was scheduled for today. One is an application of the subdivision rules themselves. One is the road perimeter street fees and the, I'm sorry, let me zoom in on this a little bit. And the requirement for a developer's agreement. Those are things that the council is going to consider at 7 o'clock and really aren't pertinent in this case to what the P&Z
So
is
it's for
considering.
information only to the commission.
Right, just
Okay.
to provide some context.
Robbie, do we have any public speakers?
No, we do not.
Okay. Commissioners, it's up to us, and I will start with Commissioner Ross. Any questions, comments?
None at this time.
Commissioner Val?
None at this time.
Commissioner Oldham?
Yes, I have I guess, corrections that need to be done on the final plat. If you'll look to the owner's dedication on the left, underneath your textual meets and bounds, it's a pet peeve of mine, but it seems like a lot of times these are drafted, and we've got Jennifer McKnight in an individual acknowledgement that capacity should be under the authority of the Mud District 1 wastewater treatment facility. Do you follow me on what correction needs to be made? She's not signing as an individual. She's signing in her capacity as the manager, presumably through authority documents. So I'd hate this to be acknowledged as an individual, because it would create an error actually on the document. Ron, can you see to it that that's corrected when it's taken?
Yes.
Okay. It's the only comment I have on the plat itself. I did have a couple comments on the exhibit attached to our information, but if we're not going to be discussing that, I'll waive those comments.
Since it was part of our package, is it pertinent to the plat?
It was more a questions into some of the comments that were made in the letter of September 4th, 2005, stated as fact under Category 1, the application of subdivision rules. I was going to ask for some clarification there, but if that's not under our purview, I can pass that along.
If that doesn't pertain to the final plat, I'd ask that it be referred to a different meeting, possibly to the site plan, but because it is part of our package, if it's a question that needs to be answered on the site plan, please ask it, or let staff know your comment.
The council is going to consider any of those waivers at the meeting to begin at 7 o'clock. There is a section of the subdivision ordinance that allows, basically, it's an appeal process to a final decision of the council on a plat, and that's effectively what that letter was intended for. So, in this case, it's really under the purview of the council for them to make the final decision on that.
So noted.
That it?
That's it.
All right, Commissioner Sinelli.
Oh, I've got a very important item, yes. Indian Creek Lane doesn't exist. It's actually Indian Creek Drive, and I brought this up the last time we reviewed this map.
We had our surveyor go back and double check that, and the existing plat for, I believe it's Canterbury Hills, does call it Indian Creek Lane. So we were matching the plat for their property. Now, if there's something else that we need to be looking at, we can, but we matched the plat that was approved for their.
So if they made a mistake, you're repeating it.
No, I think he's correct. When Indian Creek Drive, which is and I don't want to say how wide of a right-of-way it is, but when it hits Canterbury Hills down here, it shrinks to a neighborhood street right-of-way, not a thorough, God, heaven forbid I should use that word. Right. A wider right-of-way, and when it goes to the narrow right-of-way, it goes from a drive to a lane.
So should we change the street signs then that all say Indian Creek Drive?
That's a staff issue.
The staff
Any other questions? All right, I have a question on the plat, on note number 6. The town or the MUD, as applicable, shall issue no permit until the completion of all dedicated improvements and acceptance of such improvements associated with the subdivision are approved by the town. What are those what's going to be waived after that? In other words, if council was to take action tonight to issue waivers of some form, does that go away, or what are the dedicated improvements that would slow up a permit?
Well, based on the engineering plans we've received as part of the site plan submittal and the plat, there will be no dedicated public improvements as part of the MUD project. The note that you see on the plat is simply a requirement for all plats in the,
Okay,
in
understand.
the subdivision regulations.
Okay, so it's boilerplate language. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Any other questions from the public? I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the plat as it's been presented tonight.
Motion by Commissioner Sinelli. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Val. Any other comments, questions before? I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. It is unanimous. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Sinelli.
Hey, we're done early.
Reminder, we have a meeting on Thursday, too, for those that are still
Oh, by the way, for the public, I wish to publicly thank Commissioner Sinelli and Commissioner Val for their service to this commission. This is their last meeting, and appreciate it.
This is it.
Did you get whatever you